Why are you hesitant to release transcripts or audio-video recordings of those meetings in order to be transparent with the American people regarding the promises and assurances that you have made to the big banks?
Well, let me say this. I am happy to release anything I have when everybody else does the same, because every other candidate in this race has given speeches to private groups, including Senator Sanders.
That, of course, Hillary Clinton at a town hall in Nevada last night, responding to a Bernie Sanders supporter asking her about her speeches to Goldman Sachs and other Wall Street firms before she was a candidate for president. Now, both Democrats, they went on the attack last night. Hillary questioning Bernie's background outside the Democratic Party and his criticisms of President Obama. For his part, Sanders countering Hillary's claims that he is a one-issue candidate and he's defending his brand of democratic socialism. Both candidates acting like there's a whole lot at stake for the Nevada caucuses tomorrow because, well, there is. Poll averages now give Clinton a 2.5-point lead in Nevada, but that gap appears to be closing seemingly by the day. It's down from 20-plus point margin as recently as this past December. Let's bring in our panel right now. Shelley Mayer is Democratic Assemblywoman representing Yonkers. To her left, Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Scott Vanderhoff. Scott's a 5-time former Republican Rockland County executive. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent and obnoxious Capitals fan. All right. So to that end, Shelley, I know there was inevitability of the gap tightening. I know all that. But I have spoken to prominent Hillary supporters, including Nita Lowey and the rest, and they can't make heads or tails out of the gender issue and how it seemingly backfired and how the younger female population has broken seemingly consistently beyond even New Hampshire for Sanders. And from a messaging standpoint, how she has to pivot almost from having arguably the best credentials to being the best candidate. I watched last night, one of the few maybe who did, but I watched last night. She seemed to have a good edge to her. She wasn't taking it anymore. But what does she have to do and what has to happen tomorrow in Nevada where this doesn't become a nightmare for her?
Well, the first thing is Nevada's a caucus, and it really is different than a traditional primary, and I think we should take the polls with a grain of salt. That being said, clearly, you know, I am strongly for Hillary Clinton. I think she's the most qualified. I think she brings the most to the table, and she's the best for America. And I think when you talk about younger women, I think it's clear that many younger people, men and women, think we have new battles to fight besides just electing someone who gets it done. That's not a big idea. People want big ideas. They're hungry for an appetite for change. I respect that. And I think Bernie Sanders has brought a lot to the table. He's made the conversation deeper and better. But at the end of the day, I think those young people and other people who are Sanders supporters will be very proud to support Hillary Clinton.
Dom, if she loses tomorrow, how bad is it?
It will certainly be a little bit of a black eye in terms of media coverage. It will slow down her momentum, but I think that after tomorrow night, Nevada, no offense, is a complete afterthought. If she squeaks past in Nevada, the inevitability argument starts again.
She's expected to win big in South Carolina.
Right. Nevada, it's just a shy.
The one thing that it does have, Dominic, is a pretty decent-sized Latino vote here.
Yes,
and the idea was
the
whole narrative we heard. Hey, once they got past Lily White, New Hampshire, then you're going to see real America, whether African American or Latino populations, and it'll be different. That argument. What happened? Because Nevada's got a big Latino population, and if they don't break for Hillary, this whole pushing back this firewall, you know, keeps going on and on.
You are correct. Having covered the caucuses in Nevada, I agree with the Assemblywoman 1,000%. I remember a couple of the caucus sites being at the actual casinos on the Strip. And you have a lot of the Latino workers that work at the hotels. It was just very interesting to see. But you do raise a very, very valid point. There goes that argument of let's get beyond the predominantly white states, and Hillary's going to run away with this. So you're right about the Latino part.
I just would add that the Culinary Workers Union, which is thousands of workers there, has not endorsed. And that changes the dynamic from what people thought or I think anticipated, which is that the big unions with Latino membership would endorse. And that being said, I still think she's going to carry the majority of those workers on the Strip who are Latino. I think at the end of the day, when they meet her and they see her face to face and they hear, they will be with her. I don't think you should make too much of the polls there.
Editorial after editorial, Andrew, economist after economist, they all say the math doesn't add up for Bernie, okay? This idea that everybody gets a free college education, we're going to go to single payer and all the rest, sounds good, would be great here, but a funny thing called math doesn't let it happen. She's tried to make this argument. I don't think it's broken through yet. Does it eventually break through? Or do people say, hey, you know what? That anger you're seeing on the right with Trump, it's over here too, pal. I don't want to hear about all the things you can't do. Tell me what's going to happen.
I don't know if that breaks through. I mean, I think she's going to make that point, and a lot of her surrogates will make that point, and eventually it might. I don't know. And I'm not sure that the crux of her campaign depends on her being able to win that argument. I think it's interesting that the point that the Assemblywoman made, that the voters want big ideas when we're clearly in an environment where big ideas can't really get passed. And really the sort of day-to-day functioning and what can get done, rolling up your sleeves and actually getting stuff done, would seem to be the more appealing argument at this point. But look, all Hillary has to do is win Nevada. The margin really doesn't matter.
You think she does?
I think she will, and I think the narrative just has to continue that she wins Nevada. Otherwise, she's in for a bad week of press before South Carolina. And the calendar and the schedule and the setup for the Democratic primary process is all weighted very heavily in Hillary Clinton's favor. The system is in place to get her the nomination, assuming that she doesn't make a massive stumble in the next few weeks.
When you decide to run and run and run and run, Scott, right? I assume that there were certain checklists, right? Yeah. I need this guy's endorsement, this paper's endorsement. I need to get the love of this person and not make an enemy of this person. It seems on both sides of the aisle. Maybe Nikki Haley will mean something for Republicans. We'll talk about that next second in South Carolina. Clyburn's a legend and an institution in South Carolina. Maybe that'll matter a little bit. But the Des Moines Register, the Manchester Union leader, and all the other things that used to matter a lot, people are like, who cares? Am I making a wrong call on this, or do endorsements almost not matter anymore?
I think they certainly don't now in terms of moving people. But again, to Shelley's point, the real support for Sanders is that 18 to 44-year-old. The last time when I heard today, Obama and Clinton went, the caucuses, there were only 25 or 26% showed up. Now, if the young folks in college get out to vote, Sanders is going to take this, and he's going to take it more than the polls indicate. He's going to take the. Now, what does that do? It doesn't change. It changes the momentum, but South Carolina is the obvious. I think the point is that Sanders doesn't have a practical way to solve anything, but he. Remember McGovern?
Yeah. Well, I was a little young, but I'm with you. Yes, it sounded good. Yeah.
I mean, and the young people went, "This is our baby." He wasn't. I think Sanders is very much like a McGovern type. The young people don't care about the establishment.
One last thing. Caucuses are stupid.
I was thinking the same. I was just thinking the same thing.
Who even understands?
I was just thinking the same thing.
Why do I need to convince somebody about how to vote? I want to vote.
Like a Tupperware party.
Exactly. Close the curtain, pull the lever, punch the chat, whatever. Why do I need to
You're basically restricting polling hours to like a 3-hour window. If you're a worker, one of those hotel or culinary workers, you can't go caucus at 9 in the morning or noon or 2 in the afternoon.
Unless you really care about the candidate, and that benefits a Sanders.
The caucus only starts at like 8 o'clock at night.
Can you imagine Mark? Okay, and we love Mark, but his temper. Dealing with people who show up who have no idea why they're there, but they're just gonna, and he's got to convince them. There's going to be somebody running in the middle to keep his hands from off somebody's throat, being like, "You're canceling out my vote,"
I got to deal with him in the green room. I assume it's the same thing as it would be in a caucus.
Imagine him in an island again. All right, now we talked about the Democrats. When we come back, we've got a theory on this. Donald Trump and Kim Kardashian, but stay with me. One begot the other. If not for people like Kim, maybe we wouldn't be stuck with the Donald. After the break, I'm sure everyone will disagree, but the reality TV era of politics is firmly upon us. We'll debate.